Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. My best friend Chloe got married, but the groom was my fiancé Daniel. When I saw the social media video, my fiancé was passionately declaring that my best friend was his one true love, and everyone else was just a fling. Friends all around were cheering them on, and everyone present was someone I knew. It turned out everyone else knew, and I was the only one still waiting for him to marry me. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel, and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. When I saw the wedding video posted by my best friend Chloe on my social media feed, my fiancé Daniel was on one knee holding a ring, passionately reciting his vows. "Chloe, you are the true love of my life. Everyone else was just a fling to me. From now on, I will spend my life protecting and cherishing you." His voice was strong and resonant, brimming with affection, as if speaking from the depths of his heart. Chloe's cheeks were slightly flushed, and she shyly extended her hand. After he placed the ring on her finger, the friends around them started cheering them on. "Kiss her, kiss her." The camera panned, revealing only familiar faces. Just 2 days ago, these same people were genuinely wishing Daniel and me eternal happiness. But today, they were celebrating Daniel's wedding to someone else. What an irony. Daniel carefully cradled Chloe and kissed her, eliciting a commotion from the crowd. I clutched my phone, my knuckles white, a surge of anger rising within me. The ring on Chloe's hand was chosen by Daniel for me, and the wedding design was something I had planned for myself. Now, all my efforts had simply paved the way for Daniel and Chloe. I just never imagined that for the past 5 years, I had been living a lie. Just then I heard the sound of shattering glass downstairs. Thinking something had happened, I rushed down only to find Robert, Eleanor, Ethan, and Olivia staring intently at the tablet on the table. Daniel's passionate vows were playing from it. Everyone's faces were contorted with anger. Just then, Eleanor noticed me and quickly nudged Robert. Olivia swiftly put away the tablet, and they all looked at me with sympathetic concern. I was the youngest in the family, pampered since childhood, and had never experienced such humiliation. "I already saw it," I said, shaking my phone, my voice a little hoarse. For 5 years with Daniel, he had been incredibly attentive to me, showering me with gifts and companionship. He was a good fiancé. I just never expected Daniel to pull a stunt like this. And even more, I never imagined that Chloe, who claimed to be my best friend, would betray me too. A double blow, my fiancé and my best friend. Robert slammed the table, fuming. "I can't believe Daniel did something so utterly despicable. Honey, we must withdraw our investment from his company. After all we did to support him, raising him from a struggling young man to the CEO of a listed company." "Exactly. He doesn't deserve our Mia." Olivia also stood up in anger. "And that woman was using Mia's supplementary credit card, and now she pulls a despicable stunt like this. We have to cancel her card. Mia, if you're feeling down, go for a walk. Leave this matter to us." Eleanor handed me a black card, her eyes full of concern. I nodded slightly and numbly walked out of the villa, looking at the ominous clouds filling the sky, a sharp pain in my heart. Unconsciously, I found myself walking toward the newlywed home. The villa for the newlywed home wasn't far from our house. Daniel had found the closest one because he was afraid I wouldn't be used to living away from home, and Robert and Eleanor couldn't bear to be far from me either. The renovations here were all done by Daniel according to my preferences. Photos of Daniel and me from the past adorned the walls. Every single one showed a loving and happy young couple. But I never imagined that now everything had fallen apart. A bitter feeling rose within me. I sat in silence for over an hour, my legs numb, my mind replaying Daniel's vows from the wedding. The thought of him saying everyone else was just a fling disgusted me. I reached up and ripped all the photos from the wall, wanting to take them back and burn them. Just as I reached the door, I saw Daniel and Chloe approaching, arm in arm, chatting and laughing, clearly deeply in love. Seeing me, they both froze, their faces showing startled panic. I had seen this scenario many times before, but I hadn't thought much of it then, nor did I ever imagine they would do something so brazen. Looking back now, I realized I had been incredibly naive. Daniel quickly recovered, took Chloe's hand, their fingers intertwined, and slowly walked toward me. "Mia, since you've seen us, I won't hide it anymore. For all these years, Chloe has been my true love. My feelings for you have always been like a sibling's. Now that Chloe and I are married, don't get any ideas. I'll still treat you like a sister in the future." Daniel's tone was flat, as if he were merely informing me of a fact. Chloe, seizing the opportunity, linked her arm with Daniel's, her face beaming with happiness. "That's right, Mia. We'll still be best friends in the future, and you'll bless Daniel and me, won't you?" They both acted as if everything were normal, except today. Daniel stood by Chloe's side instead of mine. I stared at them blankly. How could they be so utterly nonchalant? "Why?" I finally managed to ask, my voice hoarse from disuse. Daniel furrowed his brows but patiently explained. "I regret not facing my true feelings all these years, which led you to misunderstand. I apologize for that now, but Chloe and I are married now, and no one can break us apart. You should try to be more understanding so we can get along in the future." I scoffed. 5 years of a relationship dismissed as worthless by Daniel, who then told me not to interfere with his and Chloe's feelings. It was both ludicrous and pathetic. Sensing my silence, Chloe paused, then quickly let go of Daniel and ran over to link her arm through mine. "Mia, are you mad? Daniel and I are truly in love. Regardless, you can't let something so minor affect our friendship." After all this, was there still a friendship between us? I remained silent, my heart pierced by their nonchalant attitude. For 5 years it was a lie to say I didn't love Daniel. He had been gentle and thoughtful, a truly good man, and our family had sponsored her through college. After graduation, she worked at my company. Everything she wore and used was bought with my supplementary credit card. My sincerity had been repaid with betrayal and humiliation by both of them. Chloe shook my arm playfully again. "Mia, I know you're not that petty. Don't worry, Daniel and I will be very happy, and we won't disappoint you. Oh, and Daniel and I are going on our honeymoon. Could you help me request leave from the company, and also tell Maria not to prepare meals for the two of us during this time?" Daniel also spoke with an air of entitlement. "Mia, I'll leave the side bit to you then." Daniel came from a struggling rural town, relying on scholarships and part-time jobs for his education. His diligence had initially attracted me, so I introduced Daniel to Robert and Ethan. Because they doted on me and saw my intentions, they heavily invested in developing Daniel. In just a few years, Daniel went from having nothing to being worth hundreds of millions. I had thought Daniel and I would have a successful future together. But I never expected this turn of events. I took a deep breath, and the turmoil in my heart gradually subsided. What isn't yours will never truly be yours. Returning home, I felt utterly exhausted. I tossed the photos aside and collapsed onto the bed, falling asleep. After a solid night's sleep, many things seemed to bother me less. When I went downstairs, Robert, Eleanor, Ethan, and Olivia were all there. Seeing me, they quickly stood up, their faces filled with worry. "Mia, are you all right?" I pursed my lips and smiled softly. I slept and ate well, feeling refreshed. They still looked worried and seemed hesitant to speak. I knew they were worried about me, so I walked over and hugged Robert and Eleanor, then took Olivia's hand teasingly. "I'm the family estate's darling. I have some ability to self-regulate, you know. I just couldn't understand why Daniel and Chloe had lied to me. If they had feelings for each other, they could have just been together. Why did they have to involve me?" Now, I only felt that this matter had affected my family and caused them worry. The atmosphere was heavy and no one spoke. "Oh, I'm fine. There's no need for such a fuss. I have a project I'm overseeing at the company, so I need to go in," I said, picking up my bag to leave. Robert and Eleanor wanted Olivia to accompany me, worried I might do something irrational, but I refused. After all, I was a child of the family estate. How could I be so fragile? Besides, a breakup isn't such a big deal. I'll recover. It's not like I'm going to die. As soon as I arrived at the company, I saw Daniel storming toward me. I didn't want to talk to him and tried to walk around, but he grabbed me. "Mia, why have several of our company's partners withdrawn their investments? Are you deliberately sabotaging me because Chloe and I got married?" Withdrawn investments? Robert had indeed mentioned it before, but whether he actually did it, I didn't know. Daniel's grip on my hand was painfully tight, but I wasn't strong enough to break free. "Mia, I explained it all to you yesterday. Chloe is my true love, so why are you playing tricks behind my back?" Daniel's eyes were wide, as if he wanted to devour me. I winced in pain, my brows furrowed tightly. Daniel, don't think of me as being as despicable as you are. I don't have time to mess around with you. Mia, I'm warning you to give my resources back immediately. If anything happens to the company, I won't let you off the hook. Daniel's tone grew bolder. Weren't all those resources given by Robert? How could Daniel be so self-righteous? Other employees gathered around, whispering. Hearing that I was sabotaging Daniel's company, everyone assumed I, an heiress to a powerful business empire, was suppressing an ambitious young professional, and they started to feel sympathy for him. Weren't Mia and Daniel a couple? Why would Mia try to undermine Daniel's company? Could it be that they had a lover's quarrel and Mia is using her wealth to suppress Daniel? Oh man, never date a rich woman in the future. Who could handle someone like this? Hearing this, Daniel looked satisfied and began to play the victim. Mia, I truly poured my heart out to you. Why do you have to make things so difficult for me? You've lived a life of luxury since childhood. You can't possibly understand the hardship of us self-made individuals. You can't destroy all my hard work just because you're in a bad mood. Daniel spoke with great conviction. Yet, he completely omitted any mention of his marriage to Chloe. I didn't want to explain or argue. Public opinion would only get worse the more I tried to clarify. Daniel, I'm not as petty as you are. Let go of me immediately. I have things to do. My voice involuntarily grew colder. Daniel, however, knelt directly down. Mia, please let me go. All the mistakes are mine. Please don't target my company. More and more people gathered, all pointing and whispering about me. I coldly eyed the crowd and tried to walk away, but Daniel stood up and blocked me again. With a slight push from me, he fell to the ground. A man who was 6 feet tall was knocked to the ground by my 5 feet 6 inches frame. Mia, you've gone too far. How could you do this to Daniel? Chloe ran in from outside, clutching a few breakfast pastries, and angrily threw them at me. I was worried you'd be hungry, so I queued up early this morning to buy you breakfast pastries, and here you are bullying Daniel. Chloe didn't actually work. Ever since she graduated, she'd been at my company, completely lacking in ability. But out of sisterly affection, I had given her a department head position where she usually had nothing to do. And now Chloe dared to throw a tantrum at me. Perhaps realizing her emotions were out of line, Chloe paused, then became tearful. Mia, Daniel suffered a lot to start his business. His hard work is obvious to everyone. You can't use your personal feelings to get back at him professionally. That's not fair to Daniel. I had no desire to participate in their theatrical performance. Get out of my way, I said, my brows tightly furrowed, turning my face away, not wanting to look at them, my voice cold. Chloe flinched, startled by me, and said cautiously, Mia, your family is wealthy. Robert and Ethan are both leaders in business. These few resources are trivial to them, but it's different for Daniel. Without resources, it's a fatal blow to him. His company could face bankruptcy at any moment. Mia, haven't we always been good friends? Why do you have to be so ruthless toward Daniel? A sarcastic curve appeared on my lips. Where do you get the nerve to be so utterly brazen and self-righteous? Clients withdrawing their investments has to do with Daniel's character. Why aren't you talking to the clients to understand the situation instead of coming to me? Get out of my way. Don't interfere with my work. I walked straight upstairs, leaving Daniel and Chloe to wail in the lobby. Ridiculous. I settled down to review the project proposal. Soon after, Chloe actually came to my office and, just like before, brought me coffee, her face full of fawning smiles. Mia, I know you're just upset for now, but you really should give Daniel his resources back. Don't let a small matter affect our relationship. I coldly met Chloe's gaze. Relationship? What relationship do I have with you two anymore? After facing a double betrayal from my boyfriend and my best friend, I'm pretty miserable, wouldn't you say? Chloe came over and hugged my arm, cooing playfully. Mia, I know what we did was wrong, but Daniel and I truly love each other. As the saying goes, it's wrong to stand in the way of true love. Do you really want to see us two true lovers kept apart? Besides, Daniel doesn't love you. You wouldn't be happy even if you married him. Instead of prolonged suffering, it's better to just end it now. This is good for you two. I snorted. If you two are together, I wish you well, but the resources have nothing to do with me. And don't bother me again. Also, next month is the company's annual review. If you don't pass, you'll be fired. Chloe didn't expect me to say that and quickly tried to backtrack. Oh, Mia, I won't mention the resources again. For this year's annual review, couldn't you just say a word to the supervisor like you usually do so I can just pass? How utterly shameless. I gave Chloe a cold look and she quickly said, well, I won't bother you then. Don't forget, we're having dinner together tonight. I called the supervisor and instructed that this year's annual review be conducted according to regulations. Only capable individuals would be retained by the company. This three-person farce should end now. Chloe and Daniel hadn't affected me much. I focused intently on my project, and it was already 1 o'clock in the morning when I finished. As I left the company, I saw Robert and Eleanor standing not far away. Robert, Eleanor, what are you doing here? Quickly jogged over. It was so late. They looked a little awkward. You didn't come home for dinner this afternoon and we were worried. We didn't want to bother you, so we decided to wait for you downstairs at the company. I chuckled, then went to link my arms with Robert and Eleanor. A twinge of sadness was in my heart, but I still smiled. Robert, you're the CEO of the family estate. A prominent figure. How can you still be so timid? Oh well, what can I say? I'm a doting father, Robert said, smiling. Sitting in the car, my family chatted and laughed, and the sadness in my heart completely dissipated. Nothing was more important than family. In the time that followed, no one mentioned Daniel, and Daniel and Chloe didn't come looking for me again. I also had time to finalize the project. Today, I was going to Sterling to give a presentation. I was very confident in my proposal, but when I opened the presentation slides, all the data was incorrect and even the design direction was wrong. My lips thinned into a straight line. Someone must have tampered with my computer. Everyone looked at me with a hint of impatience. I simply closed my laptop and articulated the initial ideas I had in my head. The data, everything I had researched and calculated myself was all etched into my mind. Although my presentation wasn't as comprehensive as the presentation slides, it was still spot on. Only when the audience applauded and immediately agreed to collaborate with me did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. As I left Sterling, I saw Chloe and Daniel standing not far away, arm in arm, both wearing malicious smiles as they walked directly toward me. They were like persistent ghosts. My eyes chilled slightly. Before I could speak, Chloe started. Mia, you look so downcast. Is work not going well? Sigh. You should understand Daniel's feelings now. If you ask me, you should just give Daniel the resources. It's not easy for anyone. Daniel chimed in. Exactly. If you give the resources back to me, I can even talk to the supervisor at Sterling and grudgingly agree to work with you. You know people at Sterling. I feigned surprise. Daniel brightened, cleared his throat a few times, straightened his tie and said proudly, of course. Hayes and I are close friends. As he finished speaking, Hayes emerged from inside. His face darkened upon seeing Daniel. Daniel smiled obsequiously. Hayes, I called to invite you to dinner last time. Why didn't you come? Hayes glanced at Daniel and curtly replied, busy. Then he looked at me. Miss Miller, here are your proposal documents. I had never imagined anyone would dare to tamper with my computer at the company, so I hadn't looked at the printout that morning, and this current version was the incorrect one. Since I hadn't used presentation slides for my speech, and we had already secured the collaboration, there was no need to look at the paper version anyway. Chloe, however, snatched the proposal, flipped it open, and covered her mouth with a laugh. Mia, how could you have the nerve to show Hayes such an absurd proposal? If you ask me, you should just stay home and be Miss Miller. That's a life of luxury that everyone envies. Why come out and humiliate yourself? Daniel glanced at me, then took a document from his briefcase, smiling broadly. Hayes, Chloe from our company has also prepared a proposal. Could you take a look? It's definitely better than Mia's. Daniel was full of confidence. Just then, the assistant sent security footage, which clearly showed Chloe entering my office and copying my proposal. Now they were here. I stared at the proposal, understanding immediately. That's right, Hayes. I put my heart into it. It took me half a month to rush out this proposal, Chloe said in a sugary voice. Hayes's face visibly slumped. Before he could speak, I, feeling a little curious, spoke up. Since the proposal is ready, Hayes, why don't you take a look? Perhaps it will give you a different kind of surprise. Daniel gave me a sidelong glance. You're quite self-aware. He handed the proposal over. Hayes glanced at me before taking it. Daniel and Chloe were full of anticipation, seemingly confident of victory. A smile appeared on Hayes's face, and he nodded slightly, acknowledging the proposal. Seeing this, Daniel became even more arrogant, raising an eyebrow. Hayes, what do you think? Does it meet your company's requirements? It's indeed excellent, Hayes replied, looking at me with a complex expression. Because this proposal was identical to the one I had presented that morning. I handed him the video on my phone. Hayes understood instantly, anger flaring in his eyes. And then he handed the proposal to me. Ms. Miller. Pleasure working with you. Chloe froze, then gave a forced laugh. Hayes, this proposal is mine. Although I have a good relationship with you, it's best to keep work matters separate. By giving it to Mia now, you must have given it to the wrong person. Hayes's expression darkened. Do you know that stealing a proposal is illegal? They both stiffened. Chloe's expression flickered. Hayes, what are you saying? We don't understand. Hayes snorted coldly, offering no reply. Daniel also looked a bit guilty. Then, as if remembering something, he declared self-righteously. Hayes, this is Chloe's proposal. She worked tirelessly for half a month on it. I can vouch for that. What makes you say it's Mia's? Chloe glanced at me, also gaining confidence. Exactly, Hayes. Surely you're not refraining from refuting Mia just because of the family estate's influence, are you? You can rest assured then. Justice will prevail. And even if Robert himself were here, he couldn't force you to do anything. I scoffed. How did these two manage to become so utterly shameless? Their audacity was beyond belief. Daniel glared at me. Mia, what did you just show Hayes? Otherwise, why would he say the proposal is yours? You're a sheltered Aries. How could you possibly write a proposal? That's absurd. Daniel and I had been together for 5 years, and other than leeching off me, he had never truly bothered to understand me. I studied professional finance overseas. Things like proposals were effortless for me. Even for Robert's company, many proposals had to be reviewed by me before being finalized. Did he really think I was some airheaded Aries? Chloe also looked aggrieved. Mia, I know you resent Daniel and me, but that's a private matter. Let's resolve it privately. You can't just go reporting me to Hayes because of it. And here I truly considered you my sister. Always thinking of you and everything. The two of them playing off each other put on quite a show. Shut up. From now on, Sterling will only collaborate with Mia. As for you two, don't you dare show your faces to me again. Hayes couldn't take it anymore and roared. I didn't want to waste any more words and started to leave, but Daniel blocked me again. What exactly did you show Hayes? Daniel demanded furiously. I turned and walked in front of Chloe, smirking. What's done in the dark will eventually come to light. Chloe, our friendship is over. If there's a next time, I won't go easy on you. I walked away, hearing Daniel's panicked voice behind me. Chloe, does Mia know something? Chloe snorted. Impossible. The security footage is already destroyed. How could an airheaded Mia possibly guess it was us? And even if she knows, what can she do? We can just sweet-talk her. Self-division flickered in my eyes. No wonder they conspired against me. Apparently, I had always been an airheaded fool in their eyes. Back at the company, I instructed them to cancel all of Chloe's benefits and access. I had no need for someone so disloyal. After handling some project details, I handed them over to my subordinates. Just as I was about to go home to have dinner with Robert and Eleanor, I saw Chloe yelling at the security guard. I'm Mia's best friend. How dare you not let me in? Don't you believe I'll have Mia fire you? The security guard blocked her, and Chloe couldn't move, looking like a pathetic clown. You power-tripping bullies. Mia and I might have had a little disagreement these past 2 days, but we'll reconcile soon. And then I'll definitely have you all fired. Then she saw me and yelled, Mia, look at the kind of people you've hired daring to block me outside. Fire him immediately. After finishing her speech, she tried to grab my hand, but I sidestepped her and told the security guard, Well done. Your bonus will be doubled. Thank you, Ms. Miller, the security guard exclaimed loudly. I completely ignored Chloe. My driver opened the car door for me, but just as I was about to get in, Chloe ran over and blocked me. Mia, what is your problem? Are you giving me the silent treatment? Do you believe I'll ignore you from now on? I scoffed. Where did Chloe get such confidence? At this point, I wished she would just stay far away from me. What bad luck. I headed directly into the car. Chloe, desperate, immediately blocked the car's path. The driver looked at me perplexed, and I rolled down the window. Move or I'll call the police. Chloe ran over. Mia, what's wrong with you? We weren't like this before. You can't let one man ruin our friendship. Besides, I'm a legitimate employee of the company. You can't fire me out of personal spite. Otherwise, I'll file for labor arbitration. I played the video and Chloe's eyes widened. You? Where did you get that? Firing you is already an act of special grace, I said, my voice devoid of any warmth. Chloe stood frozen, speechless for a long time. I told the driver to go straight home. Today, Eleanor had given Maria the day off and cooked personally, making all my favorite dishes. Ethan and Olivia were also there. Robert brought the dishes to the table. It's been a long time since we've had a proper meal as a family. It really had been a long time since we had a proper family dinner. Before, it was either Daniel or Chloe present. Everyone sat down but didn't pick up their chopsticks. Although they were trying their best to lighten the mood, I knew that the situation with Daniel was a lingering worry for them all. Instead of tormenting my family, I should open up. Robert, Eleanor, Ethan, Olivia, I know you're worried about me, but I'm really fine. I'm certainly not going to do anything irrational because of Daniel. I'm sad that Daniel and I couldn't work out, but isn't this also a stroke of luck? I'm the heir to a business empire. Everything starts with profit, and this allowed me to cut my losses in time. Robert, Eleanor, Ethan, and Olivia were all relieved. They unanimously decided to put the matter of Daniel and Chloe behind them, never to be mentioned in the family estate again. The dinner was filled with warmth and joy. I went to and from work on time, paying close attention to the Sterling project, fearing any slight issue that might betray Hayes's trust. Even when Daniel and I encountered each other at the company, we didn't acknowledge each other. When the company was founded, we each took responsibility for half of it, except for annual summaries. We rarely interacted. I also had the power to appoint and dismiss employees. Therefore, Chloe couldn't get back into my department, but I underestimated Daniel. He actually brought Chloe into his department and gave her a supervisor position. Chloe didn't hesitate to throw her weight around at the company since it didn't affect my interests. I couldn't be bothered to intervene. I also reclaimed the villa. The villa had a great location and good renovations, and someone offered to buy it after just one day. Perfect. Saved me time. The very next day after I sold the villa, Chloe furiously sought me out, her eyes like daggers, as if she wanted to tear me to shreds. How dare you sell the villa? I gave a humorless laugh. It's my villa, so of course I can sell it whenever I want. Although Daniel had initially chosen the location, he was short on funds. So Robert and Eleanor had paid for the villa in full, and the property deed was in my name. Even though Daniel supervised the renovations, my family paid for them. My family, the family estate, had funded every single aspect of that villa inside and out. How could Chloe have the audacity to be so self-righteous? But she didn't believe me and kept arguing until Daniel arrived. When he couldn't say anything to refute it, Chloe finally believed it, then glared at me venomously. It's just a villa. What's so special about it? Well, go buy one right away. With that, she dragged Daniel out. Less than 3 hours later, they returned, their faces grim. Chloe threw a bank card in front of me. Why did you cancel my card? Why not? I smiled. It was my supplementary credit card. I could cancel it whenever I wanted. Did I need anyone else's permission? Chloe's face turned green with rage, but she was helpless against me. She turned and shook Daniel's arm. Honey, can you open a supplementary credit card for me? Daniel naturally doted on Chloe, agreeing to her every whim. That very day, he gave Chloe a supplementary credit card, telling her directly to spend as she pleased, as the company had plenty of money. Chloe flaunted the card in front of me. Look, with love I have everything. Aren't some people just green with envy? I indifferently processed my contracts, paying no attention to Chloe. Chloe's efforts to provoke me were like punching cotton. After a few minutes of showing off, she left in a huff. As quitting time approached, I finally finished my documents and was about to leave when I saw a few people heading toward Daniel's area. Soon loud arguments erupted from inside. Apparently, these people were there to terminate their contracts, but Daniel disagreed and demanded compensation for breach of contract. Look at your proposal. What's the difference between this and shoddy workmanship? And you still want breach of contract fees? Believe it or not, we'll have you sent to jail. Daniel looked at the proposal, his face turning pale. Then he saw me. He must have promised them something as he led the people toward me. Mia, please help me. Some of these people had worked with Robert before, so they recognized me. Their attitude instantly changed. They said they wouldn't cancel the contracts after all. However, they stressed that the project needed serious attention as the cutting corners was far too severe. How could I possibly let Robert's reputation be damaged? I coldly said, "That's not my concern. Besides, Daniel created this mess himself. Why should I clean up after him? I wasn't close with him." The people exchanged glances. Daniel quickly pulled me aside, lowering his voice. "Mia, these contracts are crucial. If we lose them, the company will collapse. Whatever grievances we have with each other, we shouldn't bring them into the company, and certainly shouldn't let them affect the company's interests. This company is our shared hard work. Yes, when we founded the company, we swore to protect it, vowing that as long as our relationship lasted, the company would too. That's why Robert increased his investment in the company and allocated many resources to us, allowing the company to show signs of going public in just 1 year. But now I didn't care about any of that, nor would I exhaust myself internally. Sir, this contract belongs to Daniel and this company. It has nothing to do with the family estate. Whether you stay or leave, that's your decision," I said, refusing to get involved. Everyone hesitated for a moment. Then one by one expressed their desire to terminate the contracts. Daniel glared furiously at me. "Mia, stop messing around. If you keep this up, the company will really be gone," I said expressionlessly. "If it's gone, it's gone." I didn't even care about the person anymore, let alone the company. Daniel's eyes nearly bulged out, but I paid him no mind and walked straight out. Back home, I wrote my resignation letter and prepared all the Sterling documents, waiting for Ethan to return so I could hand them over to him. Sterling was a worthwhile collaborator. After preparing everything, I tried to send my resignation letter to Daniel's email, but it failed, indicating he had blocked me. Left with no choice, I had to go to the company to submit my resignation application in person. As I reached the door of Daniel's office, I heard voices from inside. "Daniel, Chloe, do you think Mia really won't care about the company anymore? Otherwise, why would she be so unconcerned when partners come to terminate contracts? Chloe, how could that be? I think Mia just wants to get your attention and then threaten you into coming back to her. As long as you keep her on the hook, nothing will happen to the company. Besides, how can a woman easily let go of a man? You've been together for 5 years. Don't you have confidence? Daniel, I also think Mia is playing hard to get then." Intimate sounds emanated from inside. To be so unrestrained in an office in broad daylight, they truly lacked any decorum. I didn't want to subject my eyes to that, so I went back to my office to pack my things. Less than 10 minutes later, Daniel and Chloe knocked on my door. Seeing me packing, they looked a bit surprised. "Mia, what are you doing?" I handed them my resignation letter, not wanting to say more unnecessary words. "You're resigning?" Daniel looked incredulous. Chloe snatched the resignation letter and looked at it, also somewhat disbelieving. Then she placed the resignation letter on the table with a cunning smile. "You can resign, but only if you secure those resources. Otherwise, my husband won't approve it, you know." Daniel immediately chimed in. "Right. If you want to resign, go negotiate those resources back." I narrowed my eyes at the two of them. How could they be so utterly shameless? Daniel thought for a moment, then went back to his office and returned with a stack of documents. "If you don't want to go retain the resources, that's fine too. Just sign these few contracts, and I'll let you leave immediately." I glanced at them. They were all multi-million-dollar contracts that Ethan had finalized for me earlier. I just needed to sign them, but then the whole Daniel and Chloe cheating incident happened, and they had been put aside. I never imagined Daniel was still trying to bleed me dry. "Fine." I gritted my teeth and agreed, then took the contracts and left since I didn't want a clean break. Then he couldn't blame me for being ruthless. I found Ethan and had him reclaim all those contracts. The collaborating parties, upon learning they would now be working with the family estate, didn't hesitate for a second and immediately amended the contracts. I signed the contracts on behalf of the family estate right there. When I returned to the company, Daniel and Chloe were already waiting for me. They reached out for the contracts, but I immediately pulled back and handed them my resignation letter instead. Sign it. Daniel signed his name without hesitation, then tossed it onto the floor. I too threw the contracts onto the floor, picked up my resignation letter, and left without a second glance. Just as I reached the door, Daniel and Chloe chased after me, contracts in hand, demanding answers. Mia, what is the meaning of this? I looked at the names of Party A and Party B on the contracts and said, feigning confusion, "Didn't you sign here?" The stack of contracts was completely blank, save for the names of Party A and Party B. In other words, all these contracts had fallen through. Mia, you're messing with me. Daniel's face was livid with rage. Chloe was equally furious. Mia, have you no shame? These are our company's contracts. What right do you have not to sign them? Didn't I sign? I suddenly raised an eyebrow. They told me to sign the contracts and I did. Both Party A and Party B had signed, so my task was complete. Both of them were trembling with rage. I rolled my eyes, slipped into my car, and ignored the two fuming figures behind me. Without the contracts, the company couldn't possibly survive. Plus, with the breach of contract penalties, the company was facing massive debt. Bankruptcy was just around the corner. Just as I was relaxing at home, Daniel came looking for me. After only a day, he had grown a scraggly beard and had lost all his former charm. When he saw me, Daniel immediately fell to his knees, his voice trembling. Mia, I was wrong. It was all Chloe, that B********H who seduced me. Otherwise, how could I have betrayed you? Mia, please forgive me. I can't live without you. Through the iron gate, I completely ignored him and went inside to enjoy my afternoon tea, feeling perfectly content and at ease. Daniel remained kneeling outside, eloquently expressing his false affections for me. Soon I heard a commotion. Chloe had arrived. The two started fighting and bickering, hurling insults at each other. I called security and only then did I finally get some peace and quiet. Later, I heard that Daniel and Chloe had been constantly fighting over their divorce. Daniel's company had been seized and Chloe, accustomed to luxury, couldn't possibly handle a life of poverty. So Chloe borrowed money everywhere, taking out loans from both legal and illicit sources, amounting to tens of millions. When found out, he nearly beat Chloe to death. Now both of them were deep in debt, completely unable to repay it, and could only go into hiding. Chloe even got involved in illicit activities. But in today's society governed by the rule of law, Chloe couldn't escape legal repercussions. She was caught and sent to serve time. Daniel was no different. He resorted to theft and other criminal acts and was also arrested. As for me, I returned to work at Miller. Robert directly assigned me to manage a department, and with my previous work experience, managing a department was well within my capabilities. My life was back on track, and I continued to strive for my career and personal growth.